So Arno, thank you very much for making time to share your insights into the future of leadership. But before we go into the future, can you tell us a little bit about your own backgrounds? Where did you grow up?
Thanks for having me on the show. It's great to be a guest on the Future Leader Forum. Where was I born? I'm from Potchefstroom, there in South Africa. So that's where I was born.
And tell us, what was your dream career when you grew up?
You know, I've always had this dream about running a business. Even when I was a kid, I was selling sweets and old clothes and stuff like that. You know, so I just always had this entrepreneurial spirit in me, and so my dream was to run a business. But I think before I could run a business, I think I first had to understand the numbers, and I think that's what led me to becoming an accountant, so that I can understand the numbers before I can even think about running a business.
Right. And tell me, who inspired you in your early days?
Yeah, a lot of people have inspired me, but I think the person that's the closest to me, I would say it's my mom, because she worked hard in her career. We didn't grow up with a father when we were young. She put me through varsity. She was, as a single mother, she looked after my brother and myself, while she was a full-time nurse. So, that's, for me, my mom's my inspiration. And she always taught me to reach for the stars and, just give it your all, and, just don't let anything hold you back.
Right. Now, we met about 5 years ago when you were the CFO at one of the leading business schools in the world, GIBS. And then subsequently, you moved to Australia. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey?
Yeah, Nick, I remember the day we met at GIBS. I think you still gave me one of your LinkedIn textbooks or books that you wrote.
Right.
And then I attended some of your LinkedIn courses, and that's actually where I really understood the power of LinkedIn. And since then, we've been good mates throughout the year. But it does feel like yesterday. Yeah, so you're right. I left. I immigrated to Australia in 2016.
Yeah.
And it was a real turning point in my career. It was the toughest part of my career by far. When you move to another country, you don't know anyone, you don't have any network. You start from scratch. It's a setback in many ways in terms of your career and your personal life. But I did it for personal reasons. Yeah. And it was tough to find work. I'll be honest with you. You don't just walk into a job in another country, because, like I said, you don't have the networks and you don't have the local experience. So I had to network like crazy. I met a lot of recruiters. I went to a lot of events. I actually became my own recruiter. Yeah. I wrote an article about that, and actually I got interviewed. I had 2 interviews about that article, and I just became my own recruiter. It's basically you need to get your name out there. People need to meet you. They need to see who's Arno. You need to tell them your story. You need to tell them what you can do. So that for me was a big turning point. I didn't expect not to just find work as a chartered accountant with 15 years experience in finance. Yeah. But it just goes to show you that you can never take things for granted, that you'll just walk into a job tomorrow. And I think that's what a lot of that's, for me, is what's very pertinent these days, is that your job's never secure. So you need to innovate, you need to stay relevant, and you need to network and meet people. So that was my.
So Arno, when you say you became your own recruiter, what would be your biggest the biggest lessons you learned from that turning point in your career?
Well, as you know, I'm very active on LinkedIn. So you need to have a good personal brand. You need to be visible. You need to educate, share knowledge, and that's what I did. A lot of recruiters saw me through LinkedIn, and I actually one of my connections on LinkedIn actually reached out to me in terms of an opportunity, and and I ended up meeting the person. We had a couple of meetings, and then later the person offered me a role. And that's all through the power of LinkedIn, being visible and just being out there. And you can today, it's such a competitive market to find work these days. There's a lot of people gunning for the same job. If you think you're just going to compete on a CV, you can forget about it. It's about your demonstrated capabilities and what you can actually do for businesses in terms of pain points. And I've always said it's difficult to sell yourself on paper, especially if people haven't met you. So you need to be innovative. You need to think about different ways of getting out there and showing people what you can do.
Right. And today, Arno, you're the GM at Educatio, and I believe at the forefront of innovation when it comes to education for accountants. Am I right?
Yeah, so that's part of it. So I run a Australian business now called Educatio, and I've got the opportunity to help the startup grow. And what we're about is we provide disruptive learning programs to managers and decision makers. We play in a couple of areas. First of all, accounting literacy, where we provide finance for non-financial managers programs to help educate non-financial people through a solution that actually was founded in South Africa. It's a program called Accounting Made Easy. Yeah. It's been taught to 20,000 people in South Africa, especially in South Africa, but also a couple of places in the world. Right. So we are the reseller for that solution in Australia. We do that through face-to-face workshops and remote learning. And then the other part is, as you know, I'm very passionate about education in the finance and accounting space. So I also run training programs in certain areas to help educate finance and accountants, just to basically upskill them in the relevant topics, I would say. For example, finance business partnering, soft skills, data, tech, and business intelligence. Because as you know, the role of the finance and accountants are changing. We're going from number crunchers to business partners. And we do that through value creation. So I just help guys to discover how we can get closer to business and how we can provide more value.
Right. And Arno, tell us, what is driving you today?
Yeah, my family, I would say. My wife and my 2 kids. Especially when you immigrate to another country, your life changes, your perspective changes. So that drives me. And then also my passion for disruptive learning and education. I've always had this thing about education. I'm a learning enthusiast, or a learning geek, or if you want to, but I just love learning. It's not a day that goes by that I don't learn something new. It keeps my mind active. I stay on top of things, and it also enables me to have better conversations with people because I know what's out there. So I would say that's what drives me.
Now, Arno, talking about leadership, and I know it's a big question, but what does the future of leadership mean to you?
Yeah, it is a great question. For me, it's about leadership needs to have more conversations, the right conversations. They need to check in with people more often. Helping more people through communities. Solving real issues in society. Being held accountable for their actions. If they say they're going to do something, they need to do it. And I think they need to find a balance between forward-looking, but also not losing touch with reality. Look around you, listen, and it's for me that would be future leadership.
And Arno, what have you learned from your own leadership journey? What are the kinds of qualities that you consider most important for building future leaders?
Yeah, it's tough to be a leader. It's not easy. I think you need to be able to think on your feet. You never know what will happen tomorrow. I always say be humble, work hard, and help others. Be yourself. Don't compete with anyone else. Be your own competitor. And there's a whole bunch of demonstrated qualities that I look for in a leader. I wrote the ebook about it. I call it the Influential Finance Leadership. Yeah. And it starts off with doing a personal SWOT analysis. What is your strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats? Look at yourself, self-awareness. You can't advise others if you don't look at yourself and see where you can improve. You can improve through continuous learning, but you also need to improve your soft skills. So I've learned the hard way. When I was younger in my career, I didn't manage my team effectively because I didn't ask questions and I wasn't involved. And I've learned through the years that a team can make or break you. So you need to have a high performing team that actually gets to know you as a person. So that for me would be my lessons. But there's many more, but I would say those are the main ones.
Yeah, and Arno, when you speak to aspiring leaders, what is it you tell them about social media? How should they navigate social media to build their own leadership brands?
Yeah, Nick, so I'm a big advocate of personal branding, as you know. I've been on LinkedIn for like 6 years now. And, if it wasn't for LinkedIn, I wouldn't have opportunities like this to talk and share my stories and thoughts. So for me, it's simple. You need to be active. Like, for example, LinkedIn is my go-to place for social media. But you need to be active. You need to show up. Don't forget it. Don't think you're just going to create a LinkedIn account and not show up and people are just going to come to you. You need to share knowledge. I think a big thing is we need to educate. That for me is important. I believe you need to be different to others. And you must have a mission statement, like you must have a purpose. And also, building relationships through networking. And you do that through LinkedIn. I mean, there's so many people I've never met in my life, but I've met them through LinkedIn. And the real magic happens behind the scenes where you actually have offline conversations. And that, if you get people to know you, they will like you, and the trust will follow. And that is my recipe for personal brand. So if people don't get to know you, they won't know who you really are. So that would be my advice.
No, that's a very powerful recipe and certainly proven to work, Arno. So what is your advice for future leaders? What are some of the biggest challenges they should expect to encounter in their career?
Yeah, again, that's a great question. I mean, if you think about the current situation, is disruptive challenges like COVID-19. No one saw that coming. It's been a real game changer for most businesses. People have to manage business remotely. No one ever thought about that being the reality. So for me, it's about but future planning. You need not. The other challenge would be not staying relevant. Redundancy. I see a lot of jobs being lost on LinkedIn. Or people losing their jobs that are posting on LinkedIn. So your role's never secure. So it's all about value creation, upskilling. The other challenges would be not listening to employees when they share their thoughts. Because I think sometimes, with a top-down approach in leadership, we don't necessarily listen to the people on the ground that are customer-facing, and the ones that are really understand the pain points. So, and then lastly for me would be not keeping up with technology. There's so many businesses that technology outgrows them. So they don't scale their business. And unfortunately, or fortunately, technology enables you to do much better, faster. Enables you to work faster, smarter, do more things, scale a business. And it's not just there to make jobs redundant. It's not like that. You can better service the customer through technology. So those are kind of things that I think the leaders need to embrace. And yeah.
And Arno, if you were to design a curriculum for future leaders, what are some of the new skills you would want to factor in?
I think, and I wouldn't say if it's a new skill, but I definitely think problem solving and innovative thinking. I don't think everyone's got that, and it's problem solving is a term that's overused, but I think that is a skill that a leader should have. I've said it before, they need to be able to think on their feet. A leader can't tell someone, listen, I'll get back to you later. Sometimes you put on a spot and you have to make a call. And that also comes with confidence and experience. The other thing, being resilient in tough times. I've had some setbacks in my career as well, but it's made me stronger and tougher. And sometimes you learn from tough times and mistakes. And definitely, I've said emerging technologies, so embrace it. Things like AI, machine learning, RPA, blockchain, cybersecurity, those kind of things. I think leaders should be more involved in the technical side of it, technology side of the business.
And Arno, as a mentor to future leaders, can you maybe share a success story or two where you mentored an upcoming leader and that person took your advice to heart?
Nick, that question, I can't think of a specific person. I have mentored a few people in the finance community, but it's more about people reaching out to me on LinkedIn, sending me messages about thanks for being inspiration and motivating me to improve myself.
Yeah.
That for me is a success story, because I believe that my success is seeing someone else be successful in life. So, those messages are for me or inspirational itself. And, it's every now and again I get a message, and, I don't ask for it. I just get endorsed for those kind of things. But, I'm out there just to inspire and motivate, because I believe that that's the recipe to kickstart someone on their personal development journey.
Absolutely. And Arno, who are the role models of leadership that you have come across in your career and maybe in your learning journey that you would recommend future leaders should learn from?
Yeah, so that one is not necessarily someone in my career, but it's someone in society, and I think that's it's our Prime Minister in Australia, Scott Morrison.
Yeah.
He's a family man. He's got values. He's visible. He's got good social media presence. He's at the forefront during the tough times in Australia. We had the droughts, we had the bushfires, we had COVID-19. I think he handled it very well. And he's a good example for me of how a leader should behave. And what's great is that you get to see him. He's visible, and he talks to the people.
Right.
And himself accountable. So for me, I think that's a good role model of leadership.
And Arno, how can our listeners connect with you, and where should they follow you?
Yeah, so thanks, Nick. So LinkedIn, they can just look me up, Arno Wakfer. There's only Arno Wakfer on LinkedIn that I know of.
Right.
You follow. I manage 2 LinkedIn groups. The one is called Finance Value Creation. It's got 3,000 members now.
Yeah.
You can just search up Finance Value Creation. The other group I manage is Power BI for finance and accounting professionals. It's got 380 members. I recently started verging into Power BI training and education as part of business intelligence. So you can follow me there. Then I've also got a podcast show. It's called Thoughts by Arno. It's on Anchor and Spotify, so you can just search for it, Thoughts by Arno. And then on the website, you can check me out or follow me there at Educatio. So it's www.educatio. So that's education with R and N, .com.au. And that would be where you can follow me.
And Arno, last but not least, is there one piece of advice that you would really like to convey to future leaders that they should implement in their own leadership?
Yeah, so I think again, looking at my career, is I used to try and manage things behind a desk and not engage and not be visible.
Right.
So I would say get people to know, like, and trust you.
Okay.
Because if you want to go from impact to influence and being able to have a positive impact on business, I think you need to be out there. And people, relationships, get to know people and engage, and just conversations. I think conversations don't always talk. Listen more, ask questions. I think I've kind of mastered the art of conversations. I've got a knack now of asking the right questions because I listen more.
Right.
And I think that would be for me my takeaway.
Well, Arno, thank you so much for sharing your insights and your wisdom into the future of leadership and reminding us that today we have to become our own recruiter.
Yeah. Yes, that's true. Yeah, for some, Nick.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks for having me.